Hey everybody, it's RJ, your host, and welcome to Hash It Out. As we inch toward federal cannabis policy reform here in the US, current prohibition continues to negatively impact the lives of countless individuals across the country and worldwide. In this episode, I'll be speaking with Andreas Neumann of Jushi Holdings about the disqualification of US track and field Olympian Sha'Carri Richardson. We'll also discuss the United Nations' recent recommendation for a global ban on cannabis advertising, welcoming creative challenges, and how federal legalization may impact the post-pandemic future of cannabis retail. Without further ado, let's hash it out. All right, my guest today is the Chief Creative Director at the cannabis company Jushi Holdings. Welcome to the show, Andreas Neumann. Hello, sir. How are you today?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, I'm stoked to have you here. I'm stoked to ask you about all of the latest happening over at Jushi Holdings, as well as some of the latest in federal cannabis news here in the U.S., as well as some global cannabis news that broke just very recently. So thank you so much for sitting down and having a conversation with me. I'm very, very excited and looking forward to it. Let's just dive right in here. For those who may not know, just to give a little background about yourself, you are a photographer, a filmmaker, and an author, as well as a Grammy Award winner. As Jushi Holdings Chief Creative Director, you are currently designing a post-pandemic future of retail by developing an immersive shopping experience from physical spaces to digital services by mixing cannabis with art, performance, and curated designer products. So tell me more about that endeavor. It sounds very exciting. Tell me more about that, and tell me more about how you think potential federal cannabis policy reform in this country may affect that project.
Yeah, so a little bit about my background. So you mentioned it, but so my background is really traditional advertising. So I always say I come from a real world, right? Mm-hmm. And when I entered, so I have many different lives. So my expertise went from traditional advertising, branding, technology, the entertainment business, as you manage. So I have everything basically in my career mixed together, and I have those pillars. I'm an expert in, and as well, the last one was really like I was really a student of user experience the last years, being part of my last company, IDN, which was a Silicon Valley-based user experience company, which is very, very relevant, very important to this what we're doing here, because obviously you were mentioning the experience is key, and I always say experience equals the brand today. It's like really more than just like pretty pictures and like the values and this and that. So I think the experience is the most important in specifically when you're now looking at retail and looking at an environment where you cannot do anything you could do in the outside world, right? Cannabis is very restricted, the messaging is very restricted, and this goes state by state. And then you on top of it, you're challenged with like you creating those mini environments per state in branding as well in retail, where people wouldn't know, like a retail brand of Virginia, they wouldn't know that maybe in another state, Massachusetts, they have another. We already us having other brands, in different states. So it's super interesting to enter from the real world into an environment like that, and that was really that caught my attention. And I was always somebody who was looking for places where you could still make a difference, and it's first of all as well not boring, and it's kind of a job. I think cannabis is not yet a job. Even we're like a publicly traded company. We're like, you have 1,000 people now. We have a lot of bureaucratic admin processes already, but it's still like in my area, it's very exciting and it's very explosive, and whatever you try is like you can see now in the data, and like it's every day is another fun to have. Sometimes it sounds cheesy, but on Friday I cannot wait to get to Monday to continue with the guys, our team, how we work together. So my entertainment background as well was very much like led me into cannabis, because I was in last years I was working a lot with a band called the Queens of the Stone Age, and you hear already the name if you know the band. I mean kind of the inventors of the stoner rock, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so originally I was contacting Jushi because I wanted to create a brand with the Queens of the Stone Age, which we might do in the near future. And that got me in there, and then got me into cannabis. I wasn't even a consumer before,
Wow.
but when I get into something, I'll become it. So I was, from day one, I was consuming the product, I was testing all the things. Sounds funny, but people always laugh, like, yeah, now you're in the right business. But I don't drink alcohol or anything. I have to just. I was really getting to know the plant, getting to know the benefits, the medical benefits. We call our customers patients in certain markets, right? So it's like the medical markets, like Pennsylvania. So it's a super interesting, coming to your question, super interesting environment where you have to balance out real commerce with, like, you're doing like your healthcare company as well,
Right.
and that makes it clear that there's restrictions, and you have patient data, you have facing all that, what a medical company is facing. So it's not just, this restricted by advertising is restricted. I think it's the right thing at the moment. People are trying to get to the place where this is all like getting normalized, as they always call it. But there is like big responsibility we have, to the patients and their data and what they're doing. And there's a lot of people who need this as is their medicine, and this is so important to respect that, and not just creating like an environment for commerce and like we're going to sell more and we're going to sell more. We have to really respect these people and our patients, and make sure we're not forgetting them, because we've been in markets like in Illinois, where I was part of switching from medical to recreational. And it's really like it's a big responsibility that I learned there. Like we have very serious conditions in some of the patients. You cannot just like ignore that and go for the commerce. So that's something I wanted to say first. But then, of course, you're trying as well to create those environments. I said the experience is important. You create these environments where which goes a little beyond like the what as a cannabis dispensary. The post-pandemic situation will be like, you have to. This is a normal store, right? In the end, so and funny enough, it will be a store for a long time, because you cannot sell this online yet or anything. You can have delivery, but you cannot sell online. So looking at Tower Records going out of business because of digitalization, all that, but cannabis stores, they will be there for a while, because that's the only way you can click all those boxes or tick all those boxes in terms of regulations and stuff. So the stores will be there for a long time. So the stores will become in the future more like an environment for, like, as I call it, the retail scene, kind of, not just a store where you buy cannabis and you just get some bongs and pipes or something. You have to go beyond that, and you have to as well like introduce normal products, which we're trying to do. I have an interesting collaboration with Colin Hanks, my friend, who makes these bandanas. We're gonna launch those. I think it's gonna go like in the next weeks. We're gonna launch his bandana brand, the Hanks Kerchiefs, we call it. That he called it. And we launched it in the stores, and I think it's a very fitting product. It's a cool product. It's like, it's not a complicated thing. It's just something you grab on the way out. It's just nice, without the mask story towards. But it stuff like that, differentiates us from others in the future, and we have to do more like that. We have our own candle line. We've got our own scent, and all that stuff we're introducing goes beyond like the usual experience in cannabis dispensaries, and that's important. So, sorry, I'm.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. No, you're fine. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned that Jushi is operating in both recreational and medical markets here in the U.S. How has, as we talk about this post-pandemic life that I hope we get to sooner rather than later, how have you seen the wants and the needs of both the recreational customer and the medical patient change over the course of the pandemic?
Well, starting with the pandemic, when we went into the pandemic, we were very fortunate to. Funny enough, we launched our digital platform. Like we were digital before, but we didn't have like the online pre-order platform like we have it now. So we launched that right in April, and it led us into like a beautiful flow of like, okay, now you should not go to the store. You have like you should have as least touch points as possible with people with this. It has to be friction. It has to be as frictionless as it ever could be. Mm-hmm. And so we achieved that. We installed, like in medical markets like Pennsylvania, we installed curbside. It was allowed. It wasn't allowed before. So curbside was a big deal for us. It as well, like, really stimulated a lot of sales, but as well as trained the customers. Even the medical customer became more normalized through the pandemic, I feel. So it was a big advantage. So we had a big success with our new online platform. Mm-hmm. And but what do you see post-pandemic now? What we did, first of all, let's start with architectural design. So we're launching a lot of stores, right? So we're building a lot of stores. In a medical market, we're already planning out for switching those to recreational. So we have already walls there. In Pennsylvania, you have to have you have to have a meeting with a pharmacist, right, before you can buy something. Your first time, you have to have a meeting. So you have to have a separate room for that. So stuff like in the architecture design, we're already planning for that room to become something else and have walls already like planned, which we take out, and then it becomes more sales floor, etc., or like it becomes a drive-through window. So mm-hmm. we're preparing for that moment. But I'm very proud of specifically our concept in medical markets on a store level. For the design originally of Beyond Hello, which we acquired, was already very much the Beyond Hello. It was more than a dispensary already. So what we did, we added the digital experience in the pandemic, and now after the pandemic, we go straight into what I just mentioned, this kind of retail scene. We're introducing more products. We're introducing the smells for the senses, all the stuff you do in the real retail world, right? But really focused on keeping the cool, keeping respect to the medical patients. Don't cut off their lines. You still have a medical field. Must keep that medical thing, because there will always be medical patients. If they get if they get a better price, or if they pay less tax, or it's really, you have to make sure those people, there's handicapped people, there's people who have difficulties walking, and so we have to cater those people and be really respectful. Cannot say that enough, because it's really like what drove this to the place where we will be soon. That medical was always first, and it legitimized the plant, the product, and now we're going recreational. We have to keep respecting that. So we make a lot of effort to do that, but still have a really cool environment, and you don't have to be tasteless and boring to cater that, what I just said. You can have that cool, but you have to just think it through and make it a great store experience for recreational and medical always.
I totally agree. Yeah. It's all about that conscious coolness, right? To make it a cool environment, make it a welcoming environment, but don't lose sight of what the purpose really is, where that foundation is, and where those roots are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with, like, you can call it feng shui or like good vibes as well. Like, it's the people are so important in those stores. It's important. It's clean. That's the first rules. When you go to a restaurant, and the first thing you should go to the restroom, and then if you go to the restroom, you know how the kitchen is looking. So, true.
Yeah. Good point.
Similar in retail, I would say.
For sure.
So we make sure this stuff keeps. If it's not the best design and we just acquired like a store, we have to make sure the people are great and it's clean, and then you take it from there, and then you do your cosmetic and your flow alterations as good as you can, But I'm sure you've seen our stores. They're pretty cool. They have like this dark wood, very nice LED lighting, and then concrete floors, brushed metal. So very, very like hip kind of, but not wannabe. It's more like, okay, it doesn't have to be a neon light up there, right? It can be actually nice lighting, spot lighting, and lighting is so important. So stuff like that. So
my girlfriend's an interior designer, and I was showing her photos of the Jushi dispensaries, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I like what they did. I like what they did."
Yeah,
so if she signs off on it, then I'm on board too. So there you go. Yeah, man. So let me ask you about some of the latest, as we hopefully are inching toward federal cannabis legalization or decriminalization or rescheduling, whatever may come first, that federal cannabis policy reform is certainly a hot topic in this moment, as bills such as the MORE Act are moving through Congress, and, talks of the quote unquote forthcoming federal cannabis legalization bill in the Senate by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, teasing it for months now. Amid all that, there has been a little bit of controversy, if you will, in cannabis culture, in that, cannabis prohibition in the U.S. and globally continues to affect the lives of countless amounts of individuals in this country and again globally. Notably, recently, U.S. track and field Olympian Sha'Carri Richardson was disqualified from running in the 100-meter race in the Tokyo Olympics coming up later this month. She tested positive for cannabis consumption in a state in which it was legal. And, President Joe Biden recently commented on the news saying, quote, whether they should remain the rules is a different issue, but the rules are the rules. So amid all of that, I just want to know what are your thoughts are on that? And do you at all see any sort of double standard when it comes to penalizing people and certain people when they test positive for cannabis, while other people get to walk free?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen, but we did even a press release on Friday for Jushi, and voicing our disappointment about this decision of the disqualification of her. And I think that was important. Not only important the statement, but as well to show how fast we can be still as a publicly traded company to make such a statement. You have to go through so many bureaucratic ways to actually do stuff in a public company. So I was very proud of us to be actually able to pull this off within hours, and we did a press release on it. So of course, starting globally, so I'm German, so I come from a place where this is like a drug, where you go to prison still, like if you have it. It might be not as strict as it used to be, but when I grew up, I mean, like this was like there was drug dealers, and there was like there's a drug, and it leads to other things, and it's an entry drug, and it's like I've been brainwashed from a very early age that this is not a good thing. It's actually the opposite of good, right? So it's like categorized with the worst stuff. So that is still there all over the world, right? So you cannot forget this. We're in this American bubble, and we're like talking about our states. We're so ahead of the game. If you look at the rest of the world, that's seeing the positive of it, like California and some other states like Colorado, Oregon. It's like totally ahead of the game worldwide. So that's, I think, celebrate that positive. That it's not federally legal is that's the next step, right? But you cannot have it. You cannot have it all at once. We're all part of building this, and I'm the chief creative officer, chief creative director of Jushi, and my part is normally not in to talk into the regulators and things, but still, I have to say I've been very involved. I have met senators, and I've met from both sides, and I'm German, right? So I kind of can stay neutral, but I'm the observer. But I talk to those people, and everybody is very positive about it in general. Why is it? Because look at one of our main hubs, for example. We have as Jushi, we have a grower processor, and a lot of stores in Pennsylvania, in the city of Scranton, for example. So when I go to Scranton, I see a totally from globalization distressed environment, right? There's no jobs. There's used to be a steel town, coal mining stuff. There's nothing left of that. It's like the worst you could imagine, really. It's Scranton, where our president, your president, comes from, and so we have like already now like we have 300-400 jobs we have in this little city. Imagine, like this is like, wow, this is actually just the start of something. There's jobs created. We know the positive effect of the plan. So this is all leading to federal legalization has to come. I think there's a lot of positive voices. There's some concern as well, of course, because many people like alcohol, like they don't use it the right way. Like people if you do too much of anything, you eat too much apples, you're gonna get sick.
Sure.
So it's really this comes back to the education. You have to educate. People have to first understand that this is not this can be good for you. It can be good for you. It doesn't have to be. If you get high all day long, I would say you're not going to achieve a lot. At least in my case, I couldn't do it. I can do this for relaxation. I can do this for my pain. My back was hurting when I first smoked a joint. I had for years back pain, lower back pain. And my first experience with some of the cannabis I took was actually, I never had it again. It sort of relaxed my body, and then it never came back. So there's so many amazing effects of it medically, which you have to kind of even exploit yet, and we have to educate people on it, and we have to make sure as well people who don't believe in it and have been brainwashed for like decades starting to understand. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, like and to just say, okay, global federal legalization has to come. It's not easy. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of concerns, but there's so much good stuff as well. It's just a matter of time. I think it'll happen. And now, what impact this will have on our business? That's another question you had, right? So, of course, if that happens, it's gonna change a lot. It's gonna change where we can be traded, how we can do banking, where we trade, which stock market we're trading on, use of credit cards. It's a and we have like very like our taxation at the moment is like pretty hefty. I don't want to go too much in detail, but it says things. It's not great. The greatest for this procedures. It's not the greatest for business. So all this is going to change. So this is going to do very well for the cannabis companies, and it's going to, of course, get a lot of people in place where they just dreamt of like for the last 30 years that this is actually going to happen, and this is a good thing for humanity. I feel personally, my experience with cannabis, it sounds cheesy, but it's like positive energy. If you use it in the right, everybody feels it different. Like music, everybody likes something else. It does something else to everyone. You just feel it. You have to really find your thing and then use it the right way. You cannot, of course, like use it for everything. Like it's not good to
totally
use the wrong medicine for the wrong disease, right?
Totally.
Or like take it for the different reasons. So you have to find your own way, and this is a lot of, as I said, education. Bring it to as well. We have connections with big health gurus like Dr. Mechtler, our medical advisor. He has a big clinic in Buffalo, New York, and he's got 15,000 patients there. We have one floor. The sixth floor is for one of the first. It says Cannabis Clinic, so it's really written on the wall. It's the Cannabis Clinic. Imagine. So he's doing a lot of stuff for his patients, and then he sends them to basically the CBD store downstairs, because New York is like we have a CBD line called Nira. So we send them. We have a very good experience in that building with just getting people the CBD formulas for their as an alternative. Still, it's expensive. Has health insurance doesn't cover it, and so on. So all this stuff has to be overcome, of course. And it's the same with alcoholic weed. You can have this CBD non-alcoholic weed, and the THC. It's the alcoholic weed, as I call it. But there's a lot of work to be done, Like it's just it doesn't happen overnight, but it's like all of your effort. Thanks for your effort, because you're bringing this up, and we can talk about it. We have a platform to talk about it, and we need that, So, but it's not. I mean, everybody has a point, There's some people who are against it have a point as well. You just have to find the right formula for this. But in overall, the long run has to be federally legal, globally as well. I think it's people missing out on something very big, and there's people put into prison still every day for just having something on them, from Africa to Brazil to wherever. Like it's still as you mentioned with the Olympian, there's rules, and at the moment you have to follow the rules. I wouldn't do anything in a state where it's not allowed. I'm not going to Texas and bring my Californian weed with me. Texas is not allowed here, so they respect it. It's not addictive, so I'm not like I have to have it. It's just respect the law, and let's work all together in making it happen. Federal legalization.
I certainly agree that I think it will come eventually. Who knows really when it may come? It could be still years from now, but public perception is a heavy frigate to turn. It's very difficult to turn that ship. It's just through constant education and through constantly keeping your foot on the gas and holding the legislators accountable that you do tend to eventually turn that ship, however long it may take. Speaking of globally, then coming back out to a global perspective, as an individual with over 3 decades of photography experience, you've worked with people like Lenny Kravitz, Johnny Depp, and Anthony Bourdain. And you also have extensive film, media, and advertising experience. So I'm curious about your thoughts on the recent news regarding the UN and cannabis advertising. In late June, the UN released a report urging a global ban on cannabis advertising, citing increased accessibility by youth populations and the increased potency of THC in modern day corporate manufactured cannabis. Some advocates, though, feel that the UN making any sort of regulatory recommendation on cannabis itself is a positive development, just in that the UN isn't calling for complete prohibition globally of cannabis anymore. It sort of maybe signals that they see the writing on the wall that cannabis is becoming more normalized across the world. So I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are on a potential global ban on cannabis advertising.
Yeah, so cannabis advertising, also, first of all, for us here in I know you're asking globally, but for us here, of course, this is a state-by-state impact. There's so much detail to it, like you cannot show kid, it cannot look like a cartoon for kids. That makes sense, right? Like, some people can say, no, it should be all good. It makes sense. You don't want to like make it too. If there's a gummy pack standing around with some nice little characters on it, you don't want kids to make the mistake and say, "Oh, this is something I should have this gummy," but it's THC in it. So I think that I understand. Then there's certain weird rules in Illinois, and so you cannot use the you can do this, but you cannot do that. Don't want to go too much detail, but there's like stuff which doesn't make really sense. But it's you have to understand as well. It's all development which has been coming from places where it's not allowed at all, and it's like people trying to catch up. And the administrative bodies, they're not the fastest. They have to how can you make decisions, and they have to go through that again. The bill has to be passed, and so it's complicated. And the UN making that statement, I don't really want to judge it. As you said, it's a positive that they're actually thinking about this stuff already. I can see lots of young people, maybe that's the concern, that people going away from alcohol, really, which is a great thing. But they were going toward cannabis. I think the new generations, the new young people, they really like cannabis. They don't like alcohol. I can see that specifically being in California, based in California, where it's very casual. You're in hotel pools here in Beverly Hills. You cannot smoke on the hotel terrace, but in West Hollywood you can. There's hotels you can actually smoke, or do anything like with cannabis on the pool. So that's it's still like if people start with 14, taking it still is not good for brain development. There's lots of reasons why not drinking alcohol wouldn't be good at this. I mean, there's not good taking too much Advil as well, and all kinds of. As I said, it's all matter of like how you consume and how sensible you are. Like, but people are not sensible. So that
you could say that again.
Then nobody said people are not sensible. So I know where your question comes from, but for me, I've been now going back to my own experience. I've been working a lot, like even like in Saatchi & Saatchi, or like the gray advertising, these big American agencies. I was just at the time when they stopped cigarette advertising, right? So it was not allowed anymore. So I'm that old. Imagine. So I can go back to the time when there was the switch, no more advertising for cigarettes, and it started in television. and print, and then it went to it was cinema. Was one of the last places they could do it? So the Marlboro Man was still in the cinema, but it couldn't be on television, and then they took that away, and only Eastern European countries kept it. So I was in the middle of that, and I saw. For me, it was. I mean, if you smoke is the worst thing you could do, because it's just you don't get anything out of it. I mean, just bad stuff, really. Like it might be as a creative, it's cool in a photo, like it's cool to have it, and you get very addicted to it, right? Very quickly. But it was a good thing. It was just there was no advertising for it anymore, because it's just the worst stuff. I mean, it's like just polluting yourself with smoke. So that was good. But what was cool is where the advertising industry went, right? Then we could only sponsor Formula One races and then put our logo on Formula One cars, and then they took that away, I think, and then and you had to get more creative with the advertising. It was very much event based, and there was it was kind of the beginning of brand embedded content, as you call it, where you basically have to send a message without showing it.
Yep.
And this is really my expertise. This is how I started, like in advertising. I was in advertising when traditional still worked, and then started not working anymore. And then we have to come up with new ideas. And this was brand embedded content. We started doing this in 2000. It was basically looking at the brand values of a brand and finding it like an entertainment IP, intellectual property, which was a fit, and then have that brand be able to invest into that entertainment property. Could be anything. Could be a book. Could be a band. Could be a piece of music. Could be a TV show. But not showing the product. But kind of, Procter & Gamble did that that's why it's called the soap opera, right? It's like they financed Little House in the Prairie, or the Waltons. Was produced by Procter & Gamble, because what they thought is, if I finance this family friendly content, then I have around those shows, when everybody watching, I don't know if you remember the Waltons, but The Waltons was a great TV show produced by Procter & Gamble. And then I have this is like before washing liquid is out, but I have all the crowd in front of television, and then I can have my messaging in traditional my spots, advertising spots around the show, right? But I make sure the right audience is in front of the show. So this is never showing a product, but they produced it, and this is a little bit similar. We have to do it with cannabis, right? From a strategic point, because we cannot show anything, so we'll find ways around it. So that experience, what I had with the cigarette industry, that helps for sure. Here sounds bad, but I mean, it sounds he's learning from the cigarette, from something bad and something worse. But it's not really. It's more intelligent advertising. It's more relevant. People can enjoy it more. It's not showing you the logo every 5 seconds. It's more something to lure them in playfully into the same messaging. So this is what you have to do in terms of tactical advertising, right? Strategy, and overall, I mean, it's what it is. There's restrictions. You have to work around them until it's allowed. And if federal legalization comes, then it will be allowed, but it will be still not. Make sure not the wrong people see it, and you show it to kids, and you have like gummies which look like Mickey Mouse, so they start eating gummies with 9 years old by accident. So that's important, right? So you have to make sure it's not like overthinking all this stuff always. It's a normal development, in my opinion. It's a very the product is very being demonized for decades. How do you cannot solve this in like 2 years,
right?
Probably we can solve it maybe in 15 years, but it's a journey, It's a journey. So like everything, It's like
it's definitely a journey. Yeah, and I love that you take the approach of seeing it as more of a creative challenge rather than any sort of hindrance or limitation.
Stop crying. Yeah, in fact, this is not only happening in cannabis. It's happening everywhere. Now, whatever you want. This is advertising. This is day-to-day stuff. Of course, can you do that? Let me try that. If you can do that, let me try that.
Totally.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this final question before I let you go here. Just what do you have? What are you most looking forward to over the course of the rest of the year? We're in the first week of July already. So yeah, what have you got planned, and what are you most looking forward to?
So from our point of view, from a Jushi point of view, we are super excited. I mean, we're ramping up, we're launching, we're now at 20 stores. We will be 30 stores by end of the year in different states. So we're opening more stores. We get vertically integrated in more markets. Like we're looking actively in lots of states. So we'll have a lot of fun this year and lots of more acquisitions we're planning. So you see from our financial statements and earnings release, we have a very amazing top management with Jim Cacioppo, who is like a master of planning out really like the year, have dedicated budgets to the acquisitions and like making sure the management team, and this is all solid. We're over this morning I heard like over 900 people now. I think 910 today, which is amazing. When I joined in February 2020, we were like, I think 110 people or something. So It's amazing, the growth. And that is what we take it day by day, as you know, this thing's changing every day. There's a new hurdle. There's compliance, and there's, like you said, the restrictions. We have to work around them all day long. So it's like, that's the fun of it as well. As I said, the challenge. That's what I'm looking forward to. So it's going to be a strong 2022. Looking forward to the pandemic finally get over with, and we can do some stuff, fun outside events, trade shows, which we haven't done at all for a long time. So
Fingers crossed for all of that. And I wish you all of the best. Please keep up all of the good work over at Jushi. And keep getting the good word out. Keep fighting those creative challenges.
Exactly.
And thank you so much, Dre, for your time. I really appreciate you offering your perspective on all of the latest, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Please continue to be well and stay safe out there. And hopefully we'll be able to talk again soon.
You too, and you're amazing. You're amazing person to chat with. You very put people at ease and have amazing vibe, man.
Thanks, man. Bravo. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try my best, and I appreciate you reciprocating that vibe. Yeah, I feel your love, and I'm returning it back to you, man. Thank you so much, Andreas Neumann. Everybody, that is it for Hash It Out, y'all. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. I am your host, RJ Balde, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out our channel. Click here to watch another episode of Hash It Out. To find more cannabis industry reporting, insider stories, and to stay up to date on the latest trends, make sure to subscribe and keep up with our Trichomes community app. Download it now for free, and we'll see you there.